Bluegrass Brooklyn, our podcast all about the music we love, straight from the Bluegrass borough of Brooklyn, New York.
In an old Ford Ranchero, my guitar and banjo, I headed out west with a dream.
Hello, and welcome to this special edition of the Bluegrass Brooklyn podcast. I'm your host, Liz Wolfe, and in these special editions, we explore topics that are related to and supporting our favorite music, bluegrass. Enjoy the show. So welcome, everybody. I'm super thrilled to have Darin Aldridge on with me today. And Darin is a part of a dynamic duo with his wife, Brooke. I have at least 4 of your songs in my Bluegrass favorites list because, as many of my listeners know, I love to sing. So that, to me, has always been the amazing part. And I love just harmonizing with you guys.
Well, thank you.
My favorite one is... He's Already There. That's my favorite.
Oh, okay.
one.
Yeah.
I love that song, and I will play that all day long. For anybody listening, a lot of Brooke and Darin's songs are very much supportive of the emotions that we have and just bringing us through some of life's hardships. That particular song, anytime I need to just be able to let go of any concerns I'm having, I just sing that song as loud as I can. That's
right. That was written by our friend Karen Williams out of Nashville, and her husband is a very good songwriter. They both are, and that was her first number one. And we put that out over a decade ago, I'm sure. I think it came out on So Much In Between album in 2013, but that was Miss Karen's first number one song, and it's really up there on YouTube for us as far as views, and the album for that and the video that was put out for it. But such a great song. I'm glad you mentioned that one. We get that one is a lot.
Such a major part of your work and your music together is that harmony experience that you bring to it. So tell us a little bit of the backstory. How did you and Brooke come to work together, and how did you discover that singing was really something you could bring to your music?
Well, we're both from Western North Carolina. Brooke grew up in Avery County, which is right there close to Grandfather Mountain. She went to school at Appalachian State University. I'm a little bit older than Brooke, just by about 5 or 6 years. But my family were raised there, the same county, and pretty much the same little 3-town communities that she's from. So that we have the same heritage and the same base of Appalachian history, and our families being, I don't want to say connected because we're not any kin. We tell folks that, especially when we go up north. We come from the same area of North Carolina, so our singing automatically will go together a lot very well. She went to a church with a lot of my cousins. I never grew up in the mountains where she's from, but my mom and dad did. So I grew up down here in the Piedmont. Every weekend or every other weekend and all the holidays, we'd make the trip up to the mountains and see all of our family and stuff like that. I knew some friends of Brooke's that played music in church, and when she had her band, when they were just in college right out of high school, I knew 2 of the guys that was in her band, and they invited me to come up and play at a church with them one time, and that's how Brooke and I met. But a couple years before that, people would tell me, especially my second cousins, there's a girl in church and goes to school and plays volleyball with us. She can really sing, and we would love for you to meet her. And my great aunt went to church with Brooke. But I'd already been in the business professionally playing with Charlie Waller and the Country Gentlemen for quite some time. So she had emailed me the first time to introduce ourselves, asking me about the business and things like that. And but after about 2 years, we finally met up one day, and we just started singing together. And I tell the story of, she's got such a powerful voice, which when I stepped in the back room to one of the Sunday school rooms just to hear them play a little bit, she was well overpowering everybody else in there. And the 2 guys she was singing with could sing, but they wasn't up to where she was for sure as harmony singers. And I remember saying, let me sing one with her, because they just invited me to play mandolin. and do. So we done that, and it was magic from the start of the way we could sing. Because I was always big. I can sing lead on a lot of songs and stuff like that, but I've always been a harmony singer, singing tenor or an alto part to something. That's what I did with the Country Gentleman, and I just love to sing the parts. And so me and Brooke very well fit together, and that's how we met.
Well, I love that how you met was more about the singing first, and the romance came later on.
Yes, it was.
As things developed, and so I'm sure there's a story there as well.
There is. We dated probably 6 months or so after I started going and playing with her band. And it's funny, her best friend was there that day, and they was playing a church over in Tennessee that night. And I kind of asked her if she wanted me to go on with them to the church. It didn't matter what our friend had said then. I was wanting her permission after that. And she said she did in singing, but her friend aggravated her from the start. That first day, it was like, golly, what do you end up marrying this guy? And they still joke about it today and stuff. But I prayed for somebody like Brooke for a long time, and she says so did she. And it just was all meant to be at the right time. So that's how we got together. I'd played and traveled the world since 95. When I graduated high school, I went out and started playing with a band called Acoustic Syndicate, which was more of a jam band at that time.
Okay.
I worked with those guys for a couple years, but they did so much more, just like all those bands are doing now. We was on that scene, but I'd got a job in 97 at Tweetsie Railroad, which was a theme park in Blowing Rock, North Carolina. They was looking for an instrumentalist and a singer, and it was closer to home, and it paid me a whole lot more for that season.
There you go.
It was a very good thing. So I did that from April of that year till October. Then in December, I got the call from Charlie Waller and the Country Gentleman to come try out with that Bluegrass band. And I worked with those guys until Charlie passed in 2004. And we finished out some dates with the guys and Charlie's son, Randy Waller. And we did that until 2005. We got to do some great things.
Yeah.
And so one of the legends for bluegrass music that I got to be around and be a part of. And we played for the inauguration that year, which was very cool in 2005. We still had that gig, and Randy went and done that with us. So that was something super cool to be around, be there in D.C., a part of a lot of the different things that were going on, and getting to make music for that. And one of the presidents was pretty neat.
Yeah.
So enjoyed that at a young age.
You might be the first guest that we've had on that's played in an inauguration. I actually wasn't aware of that fact.
It was super cool. I like to look back on that and was very honored to be a part of that. But I think in the circuit rider days come right after that in 2005, which was a few members of the Country Gentleman and a guy from Third Time Out named Greg Luck. He had just come off the road from them. All of us were from North Carolina and friends, and we decided to put a band together and record and go out and tour some of the festivals and things like that. But it was about then, that I met Brooke. I started bringing her to come back at the end of the story that I started out. I'd go sing a little bit with her band. And when we started dating and being friends, I started bringing her along with me and my performances with that band. So when we played some of the festivals and stuff that were a lot bigger, I'd get her up to sing a few. Well, immediately the crowds heard her voice and heard us singing together, and it was just a total different thing for the band that I was with Circuit Riders, which was a great band, but having a voice like hers really trumped everything else we were doing. And a lot of the folks started asking questions and things, and y'all got a band together? Are you going to put one together? So it was a lot of force of nature for us to move forward with that. And that's what we really wanted to do.
So I'm curious, before that, you had only men in your band.
Yes.
So how do you think bringing Brooke in energetically changed having a woman there?
Well, I think that, like you said, it's not been a ton of women in the 80s and 90s that stood out really a whole lot. So when we started recording and doing a few things and people heard Brooke sing and her vocals, that was really what was after, was just her voice quality. And then she's got a great gift. When I was with the Gentleman, I was taught that by Charlie. Charlie had such a great, powerful lead voice that everything else in the band is kind of folded around that.
Mm-hmm.
And you wanted that to be the forefront of everything. I mean, you can go back to a lot of different bands. Vocally is really what's going to draw the attention most of the time when you got good vocals. The Beach Boys, you take Mike Love and Brian Wilson, you take them out of the picture, you've got a regular 60s band.
Yeah.
And others throughout the decades, Van Halen, for instance. Eddie could play the guitar so well, but David Lee Roth draw just as much because of his appearance and his vocals. So there's a couple different examples.
You know what's so interesting about that to me as a non-professional performer, I'm mostly focused on jamming. That's my niche. So many jams, the main focus ends up being how well can you pick a break. And,
right.
But in performance, even though, of course, the instrumentals are very important, it is coalesced around that vocal core. And
yes.
So it's interesting. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like why that would differ from jamming to professional?
Yeah, in a professional band, most of the time, you've got to have, one, the talent, the songs, the ability to sell those songs to an audience that's listening to you, or that might attract that song or story you have with it, and to be able to entertain folks with that. That's 4 reasons right there. I was a member of the Country Gentlemen for a long time, and this is just the first thing that comes to mind, was John Duffy was a legend in bluegrass music with the Country Gentlemen and Seldom Seen. And John had a unique mandolin style of playing, but he wasn't a good mandolin player.
Interesting.
He could sell his mandolin solo to anybody, though. He knew good enough to get it across to the audience just by his look, his way he would approach a break, and knew his ability well enough to be great, as John Duffy is considered one of the better mandolin players in the 70s and 80s, 60s for that time period, because he knew how to sell it. He knew how to wrap people around a certain break that he would be playing, and it might not be that hard of a break or something, or a little bit out of tune, or he'd been strange. He knew how to entertain. And that was so good about the classic Country Gentlemen with Eddie Adcock and Charlie and John because of that. It was so cool, what he brought to the table. But could he play like Sam Bush? Not even close.
Well, you use the word talent. I use the word skill.
Right.
And the reason that I use the word skill is because the work that I'm doing is about teaching people how to be jammers. I just finished a Warnick class, actually, this past weekend, a Warnick method class. And there was everybody from super good to really literally just took my banjo out of my closet last week and picked it up again, right?
Yes.
And I think that word talent really scares people. Like, well, if I don't have the talent, then I won't ever be able to do this. And I certainly believe in what we would call natural talent, except that I think the reason that people are as good as they are is because of skill, because of the energy, time, and intentionality that they've put in to it. So what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. And you can use both those words in the same sentence of having talent and skill. And you keep developing that. I'm still developing that now. You never want to quit learning. You always want to get better. You want your next solo or your next break to be the best one you've played. And I'm 48 years old now. In my 20s, I could play faster than lightning. I could jam up anything in the world. Now I'm more focused on how good a break or how good a solo can I play. What's the best tone that I can get out of that? Was that the melody? Was it pretty to the crowd, or did I play above the crowd's head like I used to? In every band you want to play, and I mentioned I'd played with the Acoustic Syndicate Band, jamming before in the early mid-90s, late 90s. I had to play that way to fit that band. But I had to change my thought process and way when I started to join the Country Gentlemen, because it was a totally different band. So whoever the musicians or the band you're playing with, you need to mold your playing to that. That's the whole thing about having skill and using your talent. And the older you get, you keep developing your ear for singing and for playing and for chord changes all the time. That's where I just come from today before I come and was talking with you here. is you keep doing those songs, get a good solo down. If you're not singing, there's not a singer in the bunch, just playing the instrumentals and fiddle tunes is a great way to learn. That's how I've done it, and so many before us have.
Well, one of the things that came up a lot this past weekend is this idea of not being a singer. I did a breakout session of vocals, and I was sharing in the trips. I've been to India 3 times for a variety of reasons. And in India, at least when I went, which now was at least 25 years ago, they just sing. There's no judgment about singing, like you're good or you're not. It's a form of entertainment, and they might not even have any musical instruments. In fact, at that time when I was there, I didn't even play anything. I just sang with them, which was some of my best memories. So I think part of it is culturally, in this country at least, that there's this idea that you have to have a certain level of skill or talent to be a singer. If you paid me, I was going to say $1 million, but probably even $100. If you paid me $100 and got in a group of people that claim they don't have any singers in the group, then I bet you I could get you to sing a perfectly good song, and we could almost have a therapy session about who was the person in your past that told you weren't a good singer. Because I really think, and I'd love to know if this is true for you, but I always like to say my 5th grade music teacher, Miss Carney, told me to sing louder. And so many people have told me stories of people that said, stand in the back and mouth the words, don't even sing. So I'm curious about your experience.
Yeah, I'd hate to hear that, to not be singing. I remember the first time that I went up to the Catskills and played with the gents. I got together with Alan Bartram. We're about the same age. Alan was with a band up there. Second Chance or Second Tradition, something like that. Alan now plays with Dale McCurry Band in the Traveling McCurry.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
And Alan had a couple guys up there. We was about the same age, and we was at the Bluegrass Festival. And he found out where I was from, and we were singing. And I said, man, who's going to be jamming around the hotel a little bit later? Because we was all in our early 20s. And so we hooked up and played, and he was so tickled that there was somebody else that's like him, the same age, and we could jam together, listen to the same things, and listen to the Album Band and the Doyle Lawson and Quicksilver or the Lonesome River Band. And we always just playing our hearts out when we were in our young 20s. And just finding people like that you can connect with is such a beautiful thing for singing and playing those tunes.
It's a big part of bluegrass for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So now, how many years have you been married?
17 coming up.
All right, 17. It's funny. So I'm curious, are there certain parts of the band where you're more likely to, I'm just talking musically, I'm talking like she's the one that does the promotion or you're the one that does the promotion, or is there ways in which you split the responsibilities? How does that all work?
Absolutely. Brooke's really good at doing a lot of our videos, putting those together, social media stuff, especially in the last 5, 6, 7 years, as much as that has grown and it's become more of a full-time situation now than ever. You know, and she's really good at doing that type of thing. I handle a lot more of our other business. We collaborate pretty well together on songs and in the studios. Traveling, I'm the one that's getting us there and back and where to go and what the dates are and all that kind of thing. But our collaboration on our set list and stuff like that's pretty well together. So we each have our jobs that we're not just doing the same thing all the time or together. Each one knows where I may lack in something in a certain area in business, or Brooke picks up that, and what she may lack in the other part of it, I do.
Yeah, that's great. Do you feel like you came by that naturally, where it was like she just started picking up on the social media part, or did you be like, what part are you going to do?
Yes, it's just as we work together over the years and see what's needed doing. Of course, when we were doing that to start with in our band, it's the music business has changed so much in the last 15 to 20 years, dramatically. I remember our record company, when we first started, put us in a class of, they had a vision with who they were hooked up with for marketing, was really talking about Facebook and email lists and that coming. And we were like, Lord, some of our followers and people go to the churches and the festivals, they ain't even got a computer.
Yeah.
They won't even have an email list to have. But now everybody's got this in their hand all the time. So within that 20-year period, 15 years, it's so changed now.
So I understand you're going to be almost in New York City, almost all the way to Brooklyn on Thursday the 23rd at the Westchester Bluegrass Club. So tell us a little bit about that.
That's right. It'll be our first time being there. And we've heard from several of our friends before that's come through the area and played. And so we're excited about being there for the first time.
And are you going to come down to New York City at all?
Probably won't. Then we have to go to Maine the next day and play up there at the Stone Mountain Arts Center. We're starting out playing in BKLYN in Saratoga Springs on Wednesday, and then going to come down and play the Westchester Bluegrass Club Thursday, and then head to Maine and do that at Stone Mountain Arts Center on Friday.
And you're going to have the band with you?
Actually, it's going to be a smaller trio that we're going to come up with for these 3 gigs.
So how do you like being up north near to all the New Yorkers?
Oh, love it. I've played many a festival and theater and stuff up there in New England. Really like it. We've done quite a few things around Vermont and New Hampshire and places. So we always we don't get up there enough. So that's why we're coming back, is to do this little run and see folks and make new friends and fans. We did get to go to New York City for the first time last year, Brooke's first time. I had been one other time, but we were promoting our brand new album, Talk of the Town, and of course SiriusXM has their headquarters there now, and that's where Joey Black does most of his recording there. So we came to the big city and got to visit and tour around a little bit and walk through the park, and it was a great time.
Yes, well, we always welcome bluegrass. It's a very vibrant scene here in New York City, and especially in Brooklyn, of bluegrass stuff. So the next time you plan to come, you have to let me know so that I can set up a jam with you guys.
Yeah, we'd love that.
So you've got the concert coming up on the 23rd at the Westchester Bluegrass Club. You also have a relatively new album out that you're going to be playing a lot of songs from, I assume.
Absolutely.
And so do you have a place where people can go to see your touring schedule, where they can find out all the details?
You can go to darinandbrookealdridge.com and see all that. Of course, we're on all the socials like Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. Got plenty of videos out there on YouTube, so go follow them and like our social media platforms. And all the music's on iTunes, Amazon, Pandora, Spotify. Check
out there.
It
is.
You
have a video. Was it the one you did with Ricky Skaggs that surpassed 2 million? I saw that.
Yes.
I watched that video.
Before
I knew I was going to do this. That was a great video. So I'm really feel so honored and privileged to have had this conversation with you. Thank you so much. I look forward to having a really great concert with you, and I am looking forward to hopefully meeting in person.
Absolutely. I've enjoyed the conversation as well.
Thank you so much for listening. Again, my name is Liz Wolfe. Please subscribe to our podcast and follow us on our social media so you never miss an episode. You can find us online at bluegrassbrooklyn.com. Brooklyn is spelled BKLYN. See you around the jam circle.
They'd always go crazy when you played Sally Gooden.
Music in this episode has been A Million Memories by Darin and Brooke Aldridge from their Talk of the Town album.
We made